From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, security gang. Welcome to another episode of the CyberHub Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends at Nudge Security. You'll hear more from them later in the show, but tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, Jaime Velasco, the CTO and co-founder of Nudge, will be joining me for a live show talking about supply chain to tactical wins, how we start to mitigate the effects of some of the supply chain risks that exist for so many cybersecurity practitioners. So don't miss tomorrow's episode. A lot there. Go check out our Substack, jamesazar.substack.com, for all the latest and greatest. And now, without further ado, let's get a drink of my favorite double espresso. And then we've got a packed show. So, coffee cup cheers, gang. Y'all mind if I do another sip? 2 sips. When it's good, it's good. That's just phenomenal. Good espresso is hard to come by. So, get good one. You want to keep drinking it. The FBI celebrating the fact that they were able to obtain more than 7,000 decryption keys from the Lockbit Ransomware group after taking down their infrastructure. At the 2024 Boston Conference on Cybersecurity, Brian Vorndran, Assistant Director of FBI Cyber Division, said the agency can help victims recover data encrypted by the Lockbit Ransomware group. All targets have to do is fill out a form, and they'll get contacted by the agencies. Anyone whose files have been encrypted by Lockbit 3.0 can also try to recover their files using a decryptor developed by Japanese police, which is also available at the No More Ransom Project website. Lockbit malware is believed to be behind at least 2,400 attacks worldwide, with including about 1,800 of those in the United States. They've cost billions of dollars in damages and received at least $125 million in ransom payments. So all in all, they made out like a thief, as one would argue. So, obviously the head of Lockbit has been identified, and there's a $10 million reward for his capture, although I'm sure he's just enjoying the beautiful weather in Moscow this time of year. It's nice in Moscow in June. Threat actors claiming to be selling 3 terabytes worth of data from Advanced Auto Parts as part of the data stolen from the company's Snowflake account due to that data breach. Advanced Auto Parts operates 4,777 stores, 320 WorldPack branches, and serves 1,152 independently owned CarQuest stores in the United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Mexico, and various Caribbean islands. The threat actor using the handle Spider, apparently that's the spelling today. Just we use numbers instead of letters. The massive archives has data stolen from Advanced Snowflake's cloud storage include 380 million customer profiles that includes names, emails, phones, addresses, and more. 140 million customer orders, 44 million loyalty or gas card numbers with customer details, auto parts and part numbers. We know that's important. Sales history, employment candidates with information about their social, driver's license numbers, and demographic details, and transaction vendor details. Well, they also mention that they're selling the stolen information of 358,000 employees. The company currently only has around 68,000. The difference could be in the turnover, meaning former employees and associates over time and history of the company. Advanced Auto Parts has yet to publicly disclose the breach or notify the SEC of the incident. Advanced Auto Parts spokesperson has said several times, has been reached out to several times with questions, and they have not been candid with their reply. And a lot of this has to do with them having to do their own investigation, right? Still, you should probably answer an email and just say, we're investigating. That's all we're going to say for now. We're victims of a crime. Why don't you go ask the threat actors why they did that? That's a good response too. I'd love to see the PR person and the company that'll sign off. And when a reporter reaches out and says, "Do you care to comment about what happened? We're victims of a crime. Please respect our privacy. Thank you and have a great rest of your day." Um, a threat actor selling the advanced data for $1.5 million has told Bleeping Computer that the data was stolen in the recent attack, targeting Snowflake customers since at least mid-April of 2024. Among the 9,437 customers at Snowflake are companies like Adobe, AT&T, Kraft Heinz, MasterCard, Micron, Capital One, DoorDash, HP, Nielsen, Novartis, Okta, PepsiCo, Siemens, Instacart, JetBlue, Okta, NBC Universal, Okta, US Foods, Okta, Western Union, Yamaha, and many others. Can anyone get Okta out of their head at this point? Um, so we'll see exactly. This Okta breach, my gut feeling down inside says this is going to be worse than Progress MoveIt's data breach that had around 2,000 victims. Um, and it's going to have more data released than Marriott and many others, and those were 560 million victims. So we'll see, but my guess is this is significant, and so we'll keep our eyes appraised to the situation, let you know as soon as we can validate information. It took security code firm K1 nearly 2 years to patch several potentially serious vulnerabilities in their SaaS products. Kaiwan is owned by B2B productivity tools provider Idera. The vulnerabilities were found in the SAST and local analyzer products by a researcher at Evidon-owned cybersecurity consultancy SEC Consult, which uses the SAST tool for finding security issues in customer projects. They published an advisory describing its critical findings on Thursday. The issues were first reported to the vendor in November of 2022, but patches weren't released for the cloud-based product until February of 2024, and the on-prem version only got its update in late May. Johannes Grill, head of SEC Consult Vulnerability Lab, who handled communications with the vendor, described it as the longest coordinated vulnerability disclosure process ever. Yeah, that's pretty long. 2 years, pretty long. That's quite a lot of time there. SEC Consult also found several flaws there. A reflected cross-site scripting flaw that affects the installation with SSO enabled. That would allow an unauthenticated attacker to conduct an attack on the login page. They also found an XXC injection vulnerability, allowing an attacker as privileges to scan source code to extract any OS files, including sensitive files containing configurations and passwords. So if you are using this product, you want to make sure to get that done. PyPi remains a legitimate ground for software supply chain type of attacks in order to gain backdoor into repositories and softwares. The latest is a package that had an information stealer called Luma, aka Luma C2. The package in question is Cryptic Compilers, a typo squatting version of a legitimate library named Critic Compile. The rogue package was downloaded only 441 times before it was taken down by the PyPi maintainers. The counterfeit library is interesting in that, in addition to being named after a legitimate utility, it aligns its version numbers with the real library, showing you the advanced way of how threat actors are approaching these types of attacks and the thought that's going behind it. This is according to Axe Sharma, who's a Sonotype security researcher. Axe has done unbelievable work on this kind of stuff. In the 7 years that I've been doing this podcast, 1,400 episodes, I've said his name hundreds of times. That's the contribution he has here. So the latest version, however, drops all pretense of a benign library by determining if the OS is Windows, and if so, it launches an executable, which in turn is designed to fetch additional payloads, including the stealer. Information stealers available to other criminals help them essentially gain insights into where it's being installed. It then helps them map that out and then gain persistence within those environments. Researchers are observing a new Linux variant of the target company ransomware family that's targeting the ESXi environments using a custom shell script to deliver and execute payloads. So a lot of different names for this ransomware operator. We're not going to get into that. Target company ransomware emerged in June of 2021. It's been focusing on database attacks like MySQL, Oracle, and SQL servers against organizations mostly in Asia, meaning Taiwan, South Korea, Thailand, and India. In February of 2022, Avast announced the availability of a free decryption tool that covered variants released up to date. However, the gang bounced back into regular activity, targeting vulnerable SQL servers by Microsoft and threatened victims with leaking stolen data over Telegram. In a report today, Trend Micro says they're seeing a new Linux variant for this malware family. This one specifically targets ESXi. environments by executing a uname command and looking for a VM kernel. Next, the target info.txt file is created and sent to a C2 server. It contains victim information like hostname, IP address, OS details, logged in users and privileges, unique identifiers, and details about the encrypted file and directories. The ransomware will encrypt files that have a VM-related extension, appending the .locked extension to the resulting file. Then they'll drop the ransom note, and from there it goes. You can see the whole attack chain here, from initial access to command and control, exfil, delivery and execution, impact, and so forth. So everyone uses an ESXi. You want to pay close attention to this variant. Threat actors are also increasingly abusing legitimate and commercially available packer software like Boxtab to evade detection and distributed malware, such as remote access Trojans and information stealers. This research, coming from our friends over at Checkpoint, Jiri Vinopol, said that the majority of the malicious samples targeted financial institutions and government industries. The volume of samples packed with Boxtab and submitted to Google's own VirusTotal malware scanning platform witnessed a spike around May of last year. Checkpoint also added that the artifact submission mainly originating from Turkey, the US, Germany, France, and Russia. Among the malware family distributed in this manner was Agent Tesla, Async RAT, Lockbit Loader-Rat, Nanocore, Neshta, NJRAT, QSR RAT, Raminit, Redline, Remcos, Revenge RAT, XWorm, and ZX Shell. The packers are self-extracting archives that are often used to bundle software and make them smaller, but over the years, such tools have been repurposed by threat actors to add another layer of obfuscation to their payloads in an attempt to resist analysis. All in all, we obviously see the advance that it takes there. And again, this is decentralization being exposed. What I mean by that is this is an attack vector. It's being used by threat actors, by multiple operators, right? Not just one, meaning this is an agent. So if you want to, and this is delivery method by that affiliate within that infrastructure of ransomware as a service, malware as a service, whatever you want to name it. So if law enforcement just focused its efforts there, and you start to disrupt these critical affiliates, not just the big name behind it, you'll have a greater impact, a significant impact. Meaning you can attack Chase or Wells or all of that, but if you go after Fiserv or TSYS or FIS, the amount of victims you're going to have is insane. That's why they went after Snowflake, and through Snowflake they got to all of their victims: Ticketmaster, Advanced Auto Parts, and the thousands of others that will be rolling off my tongue into this mic and into your ears in the coming months as we understand the impact of this Snowflake data breach. So there's that. Apple has refused to pay a bug bounty to Russian cybersecurity firm Kaspersky after Kaspersky disclosed 4 zero-day vulnerabilities in iPhone software that were used to spy on Kaspersky employees as well as some Russian diplomats. A spokesperson for Kaspersky Labs told Recorded Future News that the company's research team considered their work eligible for bug bounty rewards from Apple. However, the Apple security team declined said request, referring them to the dedicated policy. Apple did not provide comment about why they've done that. One could assume it's either because of sanctions or another reason. Either way, Apple's not paying the bug bounty there, and that's not a good example. Poland, for their end, are vowing to invest $760 million in Cyberdefense as pressure from Russia mounts at the Polish people. Poland is going to strengthen its defenses against ongoing cyber attacks from Russia, according to the country's digital minister, Krzysztof Gałkowski. During a press conference on Monday of this week, Gałkowski said that Poland is on the front line of the cyber fight against Russia. The new Cyber Shield program, which will cost the government around 3 billion zlota. So Poland, part of the EU, does not use the euro as its currency. They still stayed with their zlota, which is why their economy is one of the more resilient economies in Europe, because they're able to control their currency and inflation and cost of living. So this is meant to improve the resiliency of the country's critical infrastructure and government services. The announcement came after attackers published a false article about military mobilization on the newsfeed of Poland's state news agency, PAP, late last week. According to Gałkowski, there are indications that Russian attackers were responsible for this attack, and this information being so key they're working on doing that, as well as it's election season. 2024 is the year with the most elections. If you don't think that there are significant disinformation and misinformation campaigns happening there, you'd be wrong. So there's that as well. Now, before we end the show, just a message from our friends over at Nudge Security.
When your CEO asks, hey, are we using that SaaS app that was just breached? How quickly and confidently can you answer? Due to the sprawling nature of SaaS app adoption, it's hard to know who is using what and to understand the implications when a popular SaaS app is breached. To solve this, Nudge Security discovers and categorizes every account for every SaaS app ever created by anyone in your organization. And a full inventory of all SaaS accounts is available within minutes of starting a free trial. Not only will you know who's using what, but you can automate communications out to end users, called nudges of course, that remind them to enable MFA, shut down unused accounts, enroll apps in SSO, etc. And Nudge Security will notify you of breaches impacting your SaaS provider so you can take immediate action to mitigate the impact. Start a 14-day trial now at nudgesecurity.com/cyberhub.
So go check out our friends at Nudge Security tomorrow, 11 a.m. Jaime Velasco, the CTO of co-founder of Nudge, is going to be joining me live on the show. We're going to be talking about supply chain type of attacks. We're going to be talking about Snowflake, obviously. Jaime will be sharing a lot of his experience on doing this. It's not a sales pitch for Nudge. We're grateful for their support of the show. Go do the 14-day trial if you can, please. It really does help our sponsors hear from our community, and we're always grateful for their support. It helps us continue to grow and bring you more and more shows and do a whole lot more. So with that being said, make sure to tune in tomorrow, 11 a.m. And get the ball and tune into that. Until then, have a great rest of your day, y'all. And most importantly, stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.